Have you ever had a moment like that? A single bizarre moment that changes everything? Where it feels like the universe stops just for a second to hand you a message? What if you realized the life you were living, the one you had so carefully built, wasn't actually yours at all? For me, it wasn't some lightning strike or a big dramatic event. It all started with a feeling. This persistent, nagging feeling that I was stuck in a dead-end job with absolutely no way out. A restlessness so deep it felt like my soul was trying to crawl out of my skin. I told myself it was just burnout, that it was normal. I was wrong. It was the beginning of the end of my old life, and the start of a journey I never could have predicted. And it all began in the suffocating stillness of my cubicle. For 7 years, my world was a 5-by-5-foot fabric-covered box, humming under the pale glow of fluorescent lights. I worked in corporate finance, a field I'd stumbled into after college because it seemed practical, stable, and responsible. It was the kind of job you tell your parents about with a little pride, the kind that lets you afford a decent apartment and a car that actually starts in the morning. On paper, I was a success. I had a good salary, benefits, and a clear path up a ladder I had zero desire to climb. But the reality was a slow, quiet death of the self. Every day was a carbon copy of the last. The same stale coffee, the same muted chats about weekend plans, the same sea of gray and beige suits marching into the same meetings to talk about the same spreadsheets. I was a professional number rearranger, a human cog in a giant machine whose purpose felt monumentally important to the company and profoundly meaningless to me. My body started to rebel long before my mind did. First came the Sunday scaries, that wave of dread that would wash over me around 3 p.m. every Sunday, a nasty preview of the week ahead. Soon, that dread bled into Saturday. Then, it just became a constant, low-grade anxiety that followed me everywhere. I was always exhausted, not from the work itself, which was mind-numbingly easy, but from the sheer effort of faking it, pretending to care about quarterly earnings, pretending to be engaged during 3-hour calls, pretending that this safe, predictable, and soul-crushing life was enough. I was living a lie. I'd sit in my car on my lunch break, not eating, just staring at people walking by. I'd wonder, what did they do? Were they passionate about it? Did they feel this same hollow ache in their chest? I'd scroll through my phone, looking at pictures of people traveling, starting businesses, making things with their hands, and feel a pang of jealousy so sharp, it was almost a physical pain. Deep down, buried under a decade of being practical, was a forgotten dream. When I was a teenager, I didn't dream of spreadsheets. I dreamed of sawdust and the smell of lacquered wood. I wanted to be a luthier. I wanted to build guitars. I'd spent hours sketching designs, studying the curves of a Stratocaster or the inlay on a Martin acoustic. I even bought a cheap, beat-up guitar at a yard sale and took it apart, just to see how these simple pieces of wood and wire could come together and create something that could make people feel so much. But, life happened. A guidance counselor told me it wasn't a real career. My parents, wanting the best for me, pushed me down a more stable path. And me, terrified of failure and wanting to make them happy, I listened. I packed that dream away in a metal box, put it on a high shelf, and let it gather dust. The man crunching numbers felt like a total stranger to the boy who dreamed of wood and wire. And for a long time, I thought that boy was gone for good. But then, something started to happen. The universe, it seems, got tired of me just going through the motions. It started sending whispers, little nudges that were so strange, they became impossible to ignore. This Enoch, whose flesh turned into flame, his veins on fire, her eyelashes in lightning, their eyeballs into flaming torches, and whom God placed next to the throne of glory. After this celestial transformation, he received the name of Metatron. How does Archangel Metatron manifest? As a spiritual guide, Metatron is often invoked. In meditation and spirituality practices, you are asked for help to understand and travel the spiritual path, to increase awareness of oneself and the universe, and to facilitate communication with the divine. His aura transforms whoever asks him for help. His wisdom helps us overcome adversity. A pure fluorescent aura surrounds him in a very light magenta blue, almost like smoke. Does not touch the ground, because with its wings, white and huge, brillantes como galaxies enterradas con forma de tatuajes, iridescent colored celestial and star symbols and maps, intricate, super intricate, best quality, totally realistic, perfect, retina, electric effects, good heavens, sparks, sparkles, flying with the universe in the background, full of constellations, galaxies, and stars, some nearby planets and moons. Armadura con detalles intricat coderas, detalles super intricate, retina jewels. Metatron's color is emerald green, with a realistic metallic shine, makes it indestructible. Wings with iridescent colors, lightning and rays like very powerful fluorescence, the universe full of stars behind him. The aha moment, the realization. Standing there in that cold, dusty garage, holding that piece of wood, everything just clicked. It was a true aha moment, where a dozen confusing little pieces suddenly snapped together into one terrifyingly clear picture. The restlessness, the book falling, the documentary, the emails, and now this legacy I never knew I had. I realized with total clarity that my unhappiness wasn't just a phase or burnout. It was a signal. It was my own soul screaming at me that I was profoundly off course. The life I was living wasn't just unfulfilling. It was fake. It was a life I chose based on fear and what everyone else expected of me. Fear of instability, fear of judgment, fear of failure. I had built myself a cage, gilded it with a good salary, and then willingly locked the door. That unfinished guitar in my hands felt like a symbol of it all. A dream started, then abandoned. And in that moment, a new fear showed up, one that was way more powerful than all the others combined. The fear of regret. I pictured myself at 80 years old, looking back. Would I be proud of the safe, quiet, miserable path I'd walked? Or would I be haunted by the ghost of the life I could have lived? The person I could have become, if only I'd been brave enough to try. The pain of that potential regret was unbearable. It dwarfed the fear of running out of money or what people would think. I finally understood that the fear of not trying is always worse than the fear of failing. This was my rock bottom, but it didn't feel like a pit of despair. It felt like a solid foundation. The realization was my catalyst. It was no longer a question of if I should change, but how. I didn't storm into my boss's office the next day. The realization was emotional. The plan had to be practical. That night, for the first time in years, I didn't just zone out in front of the TV. I opened my laptop and made a new spreadsheet. But this one was for me. I tallied up my savings, my expenses, my debts. I looked at the numbers with cold, hard clarity. And to my surprise, I realized I had accidentally been preparing for this. By living a life that brought me no joy, I hadn't spent much money. I had a cushion, not a huge one, but enough. Enough for about a year, if I was careful. Seeing that number, 1 year of freedom, made the impossible feel possible. It wasn't just a wild dream anymore. It was a calculated risk. It was a plan. The aha moment wasn't just about building guitars. It was the realization that I had the power to actually do it. The universe had sent the signs, but it was on me to take action. The messages were an invitation, and I was finally ready to RSVP. The new beginning. The road of trials. Quitting my job was the most terrifying and exhilarating thing I have ever done. I walked into my boss's office, heart pounding, and gave my 2 weeks' notice. He was shocked, of course. He talked about my promising future with the company. For a split second, the old fear flickered. But then I thought of that unfinished guitar, and the fear just vanished, replaced by this calm certainty. I was walking away from his version of my future to build my own. My last day felt totally surreal. Packing up my sad little desk plant, I felt a profound sense of release. Walking out of that building for the last time, I didn't feel loss. I just felt light. I felt free. The first Monday of my new life was awkward. I woke up at 6:30 a.m. out of habit. The silence in my apartment was deafening. No emails, no meetings. For a second, panic washed over me. What have I done? But I took a deep breath and walked into my garage, which I had cleaned obsessively. I looked at my grandfather's tools, polished and gleaming, and the unfinished guitar on my new workbench. This was my new office. This was my new job. The beginning was not glamorous. It was humbling and frustrating. My first attempts at building were a disaster. I tried to copy my grandfather's guitar body and just splintered the wood. I made wrong cuts. My hands, used to a soft keyboard, were clumsy and weak. They blistered and bled. There were days I wanted to throw my tools against the wall and just give up. This was my road of trials, where the initial buzz wears off and the real work begins. I knew I couldn't do it alone. I swallowed my pride and found a mentor. I found a man named Arthur online, a retired luthier a few towns over. He was old, grumpy, and didn't suffer fools. But he saw the passion in my eyes, and for reasons I still don't get, agreed to help me. He was tough. He made me spend a whole month just learning how to properly sharpen a chisel. He taught me to respect the wood, to understand its grain, its voice. My progress was painfully slow, but with each small victory, a perfect cut, a smoothly sanded curve, a new kind of satisfaction started to grow. It was a feeling I had never, ever had in my corporate job. It was the pride of creation. It was hard, but it was meaningful. And for the first time in a very, very long time, I was happy looking back. It's obvious the universe wasn't just handing me a new career. The signs, the coincidences, they weren't the destination. They were an invitation to wake up and take ownership of my own life. As Oprah says, life is always whispering to us, and those whispers get louder until we listen. My life had been screaming, and I finally chose to pay attention. The most important thing I realized was this: the universe doesn't build your dream for you. It just nudges you toward the tools and the raw materials. It's up to you to pick them up and do the work. It's about being more committed to your dreams than you are to your comfort zone. The path wasn't easy, and it still isn't. But the struggle is filled with purpose. So, I want to ask you, what is the universe whispering to you right now? What recurring thoughts or strange coincidences are you pushing aside? Maybe it's not building guitars. Maybe it's traveling, writing a book, changing careers, or just living a life that feels more like you. It's never too late to change your story. Your aha moment is out there waiting, but you have to be open enough to receive it. My first guitar is almost finished now. It's far from perfect. It's got flaws and mistakes, but every single one of them is mine. It's a symbol of a new life, a life built by hand, with intention, and with soul. The journey is really just beginning, and in a future video, I want to show you the final steps of bringing this instrument to life and hearing its first chord. If this story resonated with you and you want to follow along, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support means the world. And for another story about a major life transformation, you can check out this video right here. Thanks for watching.